Hi everybody, I am home from my trip and I am still tired, but I am working. I hope you guys didn't feel neglected over the last few days. I really enjoyed reading the discussion board for this post, or for this question. Everyone had such wonderful things to say, and I commented on some people's posts at the discussion board. Some of the people that I didn't respond to, I have their quotes up here, and some of them that I did respond to, I have their quotes up here. So I want to say something about each of these quotes very quickly so that you can get the point that I'm trying to make without me elaborating it. First, Rachel said, "I have generalized Germans as anti-Semitic without regard for those who held on to their morality and humanity. I believe with fiction we are sometimes able to better understand the emotions, struggles, and tragedy people experience by reading or viewing a story of ordinary characters who we become attached to, and can paint a scene that can help us visualize and relate to our own humanity and feelings that in some ways nonfiction cannot do." And I think this is one of the central points that the article in The Atlantic was trying to make. We understand fiction. Usually that's the first literature that we're introduced to as children, is fiction. We grow up on fiction. And we get the emotions, the struggles, and we become involved with these characters. And I think that is why fiction is not demeaning, although I understand the other side of the argument. I think what it does is it lets us realize the emotion of the events more than it lets us feel the actual what happened during the time. Emma makes a comment sort of around this theme too. "I do not necessarily believe that this movie," referring to The Book Thief, "has more of an impact, but it was more relatable," and I think she means the nonfiction. Again, this ties into what Rachel said. It does have more of an impact because your emotions are stirred up. You're tied to these little characters. Deborah writes about Nazi exploitation, and she's talking about the movies that exploit the Holocaust. She refers to a Captain America film as movies that exploit, almost turn Hitler into an enemy that can be defeated, sort of like any other arch enemies that Captain America might have. I also think Nazi exploitation are movies like Inglourious Bastards, I think was the name of it. There's some of those films that tangentially touch on the Holocaust, and I think those do kind of exploit the Holocaust in a way. And there's another one too, I can't think of what it is. Rebecca writes, "In fiction, some things are dramatized so that we can see what is happening, feel what was happening, and connect with it, and yet still feel somewhat disengaged." Yes, we can feel and we can connect with it. I'm not sure that I could feel somewhat disengaged when I read literature or when I watch a film. It happens more to me when I read a book and I've attached myself emotionally to characters for 200-300 pages. I'm not sure I'm that disengaged. I'm utterly moved by it. And I think that's different for everybody when they read fiction. It's not wrong to feel disengaged, but I think it is everybody maybe engagement to disengagement has a scale, and you follow it along, and you're somewhere on that continuum. I thought Brittany made a really good point when she talked about Hitler's or Holocaust uneasy relationship with with literature. I'm sorry. The point is made that even books like Night by Elie Wiesel and the Diary of Anne Frank by Anne Frank were not 100% fiction. Kaiser states that Moshe the Beetle was a made-up character by Wiesel and that the book was fabricated to form a well-rounded book. Now, first of all, Wiesel does admit it was a character that he made up, but the character was real in the sense that everything that happened to his character, Moshe, happened in his life. I feel like I do not agree with this article completely. You can feel the emotions while reading a book like Night and watching films like Schindler's List. Although they may be written in a story format rather than facts, it gets to the emotion of the reader. And I think that because Night was a memoir, it is in the class of a story. Memoirs are stories, a portion of somebody's life. And it's told like a story. You can engage with it like you can literature telling a story. The same with the way Schindler's List was depicted on the big screen. It is a story format, and you can get involved with that story. Doug writes, and this is, to me, this is a very fascinating point. And he's writing about 9/11. You think, huh? What's that got to do with the Holocaust? But he makes a really good point. I was a young adult when 9/11 took place, so to me it is very raw and doesn't feel like ancient history to me. I can hardly believe it's been almost 15 years since that day. I have to remind myself that many of my college peers are almost babies when it happened. Hollywood is slowly beginning to create fictional dramas using the backdrop of 9/11, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. And I think this probably sums up what Wiesel feels, because Wiesel is on the other side of the argument that literature and poetry demean Jews. He says he quotes somebody, Wiesel does, that there's no poetry because of Auschwitz. Poetry's dead, literature's dead. But I think that's because he experienced it. And us, me too. I wasn't alive when the Holocaust was going. So I need something to get me involved in the actual facts of, or literature to get me to wonder about the facts and maybe explore more. Sorry I'm so tired and not doing really well with words, but I think I did make my points, and I hope you will read my comments that I made on the discussion board to your classmates and read their posts, because they're valuable posts. In fact, everybody's was. I could have picked quotes from anybody's. Okay? So send me an email and in one sentence tell me if literature demeans the Holocaust or if literature enhances the meaning of the Holocaust. Just one sentence. Send it to me, 5 points.